So in this video, we're going to see an operating system one more question from GATE 2017 and it's based on the topic of threads versus process. Now the question reads that the threads of a process share. What do the threads of process share? And we have four options A, B, C and D. Now before we get into what these options are, let us quickly see the memory layout for our reference. Let us quickly see the memory layout of both a process and a thread. So first we'll see the memory layout of a process here, and then we'll see a memory layout of a thread, and then we can come back to this question and look at all the four options. So let me zoom in here a bit. Okay, so a process typically has four sections in its memory layout. Okay, the first one is code, that is the code of a process. Then we have data. Data is on which the code will be acting. And then we have a dynamic structure in the memory which is called as heap. So heap, as you know, is not a fixed structure. It will keep on increasing and decreasing. Heap stands for the runtime memory allocation. And then we have stack. Stack is also not a fixed structure. It's dynamic. It keeps on increasing and decreasing as we do function calls and the local variables which are declared inside the function. So this is a typical layout of a memory layout of a process. Now let's see the memory layout of a thread. So the memory layout of a thread is somewhat similar to a process. Okay, so these two segments, code and data, are fixed. So code is shared among all the threads and data is also shared among all the threads. Let's assume this process has 3 threads. Okay, so now what is not shared is what is local among each of the thread is stack. So every thread has its own stack. So stack basically becomes a part of a local data of a thread. Then we have CPU registers. CPU registers is also very independent of every thread. It cannot be shared because every thread will have its own local data to work upon. So it will be different. And then we have PC, program counter. So program counter of each thread will also be different. So if you notice that the data which is independent for every thread, which is not shared among threads, is nothing but a local data which is local to every thread, whereas global data, that is our code and our other global variables, that gets shared among all the threads. So now using this information, let's come back to our options. Yes, so option A reads that, so let's read the question again. Threads of a process share. We have to find what the threads of a process share. So threads share global variables but not heap. Now this is incorrect because heap is also part of a global data. Heap is also part of a global data. Heap is nothing but the memory allocated during the runtime. So this is false. Again, threads of a process share heap but not global variables. This is also false. Neither global variables nor heap. This is also false. So the correct option should be D, both heap and the global variables. So this global data, as we pointed out before, is something which is shared among all the threads. So D is the right option.